You're watching the Tesla Life live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 292, the 1st of February, 2023. Wow, 1 month of the new year is already gone. Talk about quick. Man, this carousel just gets faster and faster the older I get. Welcome, everyone, to the show. We've got a ton of news, but let's do introductions first. First of all, we've got in the bottom center, we have Mr. Patrick Connor joining us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hello, Tesla Nation. Thank you for joining us. And if things go according to plan, our population in Nation Tesla will be a couple million more by the end of this year.
That's right. That's right. We get bets on that one. We'll find out at the end of the year. Also joining us, Mr. Casey Green from the East Coast. How are you today, sir? And Moto, the baby.
Hello, Moto. Say hi.
Hey.
All right, then. Oh, there she goes. She's waving now.
There's the wave.
She waves like she's doing like her Italian impersonation.
Yeah, pretty cute.
We've got lots of fun happening in the chat already. This is nice.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to Zachary, Kenny, and Roger has joined us early, so that's good to see. Excuse me.
Also tells us chat's not broken.
Another plus. Oh, and there's Hockey Day.
Nice.
Wanted to start it off with some Supercharger news this week, and Casey knows about this, right?
Yeah. So. Wait a minute. I'm on the wrong one. 1 second. We got two superchargers we're talking about this week.
That's right.
And, I went to the land down under, but what we're actually talking about is worldwide. So
yeah, I'll actually share a photo for you, although the photo's kind of weird. But I will share the photo anyways, and we'll see if we can make heads or tails out of it.
Yes.
Share.
If it's the header image, then I actually did a super photo AI on it because I did.
Oh, it's not working.
It's not working. Well, then
I'm not getting a share out of it.
If it's the header image, I got you. Let's see here. Let's go down to here, and then do this without glasses. Thanks, baby. And then here, and then here.
Baby's running interference.
She is, and then I'll blow this up, and then I'll do share screen, and then I hope I got the right picture. Otherwise, I just wasted your time. All right, so window. Really? I can't show a window on another screen? Whatever. Oh, there it goes. I'll share all the screen too. What do I care?
It's coming.
Nope.
It's coming. Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's fighting me.
That's okay. Let's skip the screen share. Let's just get on with the show.
So anyway, the Supercharger network grew last year by 1,200 stations, which is on par with what they were promising us, and it was pretty good results.
So 1,200 additional locations, not stalls.
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Right. Sites.
Yeah.
Of which the minimum is 4 stalls.
Yeah, and I'm sure the average is closer to 8.
Yeah, it's got to be now. Actually, in North America, typically we're seeing 12s, right? As they pop up. But that's good that we're continually growing. Not a surprise, but good to see because that's one thing that we don't want to see slowing down. And one of the major reasons for that, of course, is the number of Teslas that are being added to the marketplace. Again, as Patrick has talked about, we get to a point where we've got 2 more million vehicles on the road. They're going to be using those superchargers, not constantly, but 2 million people added to the network, even if it's randomly using it for trips and whatever, you're going to start to get some volume use out of those sites.
Hey, we have an image share happening now. Nice.
Yeah, I just shared the whole screen.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know where this one is, but it has these pop-up blocks there.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. That's supposed to prevent icing. So yeah, I'm
sure they work here.
Some trucks with enough clearance to just go right over it, and some people are dumb enough to just run right into it. But so we don't have those in the U.S.
This I believe is an Australian site, which leads to another story that we've got. But that's kind of cool that they've got, and I've seen those pop-ups as well. I believe in South Korea. In
Japan, China,
where they have extreme parking problems, right? Like there's and anybody parks wherever they can get a space, whether it's a charging area or not. But it's good to see that we're getting to the point where those number of chargers are still increasing, and 1,200 is not a bad number for a full year,
right? Yeah, and like we said, 1,200 locations, so times 10 or whatever for the number of stalls.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Another bit of news about superchargers, and I think
so in Australia they now have the supercharger program for non-Tesla vehicles. So you can go into your app and pick a stall, activate charging, pay for it, and if you supercharge often enough, you can get the Tesla owner's rate by paying like $20 local currency equivalent per month. But if you're only going on 1 or 2 trips, then you should probably just pay per use. And that greatly expands your ability to charge elsewhere. And as we've seen in other places in North America, depending on your vehicle, it might even potentially save your car from being served up a voltage that it didn't ask for.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple incidents with Rivian, Ford, and others that Electrify America said, "Here's all the electricity," and the car's like, "No, I can't take it," and then they blew the fuse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was some issues. There was some issues with that charge system recently. So it's it can be actually that could be real scary if you didn't know what was going on, and it was to blow a fuse while you were charging. Besides the inconvenience of it, but
well, the Rivian one that just happened, or is it the Ford one? Whichever one just happened recently, happened at like 3 a.m. So they had to wait for a tow truck to wake up and come get them, and then they didn't know how to. It has to be Rivian. They didn't know how to do the manual release on the lock on the charge port. So the station owner was talking about getting a saw out, since the electricity was already down, but. You don't need a saw when there's just simple.
I would not be touching a saw to the cable, regardless of whether there was power flowing through it or not.
Right. So Rivian gave him some Uber credits and said, "Hey, just leave it there, and we'll work with you in the morning." Kenny brings up a good point about the supercharger voting that Marcus told us about a couple of times.
Before we leave that topic, I just want to. There's a nice PSA there.
Yes.
If you have an EV, make sure you know where the manual charge port disconnect is, because they all have one. They're hidden away. They're because they don't want people just pulling them randomly, right? But when you need it, you need to know exactly where it is, how to get to it, and how to use it.
Yeah. So also, before you use it, make sure that the flow of juice has stopped. Either you've heard the magic smoke come out, or you see the charger has completely stopped. If the charger's not stopped, you can all but the Tesla ones. They have a red stop button you can hit and turn it off. And even the Tesla ones and others that don't have a button, you can find somewhere else on site, just like the gas pumps, to turn off the juice. And then you do the manual disconnect. I wouldn't suggest trying it while it's activated because, it's isolated, so if you touch it, it's safe, but it might arc, and if it arcs, that's temperature, that's electricity, and we're talking hundreds of amps and hundreds of volts. DC.
Right.
So
you could damage your charge port or the charge handle. Yeah, you don't want to.
There was that. I was talking about damaging yourself. We could get replace some things.
Yeah,
when you're pulling ground.
Yes.
Oh man, that could be trouble. But
you shouldn't be near the charge port when you're
What
doing
is
it?
it? Greg.
Well, you're on the you're on the inside of the charge port when you're doing it on most of them.
Oh, true. Right. Okay.
And Greg
Greg was
has
saying what?
said hello from what is it? New Zealand.
Yeah.
So welcome, Greg. And this might be coming to your neck of the woods because Australia is now the first non-European country that has been brought into the non-Tesla charging supercharger ability. So where Greg is, that might be the next country. Just so close to
It would be
Australia.
logical. I mean, you already got all the personnel there.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of regional concerns. And just like, with the US and Canada, like you guys are always right after we get something from Tesla. So why not
Yep.
New Zealand?
So keep your eye for that, Greg. Also, from the picture shown, they are a CCS charger.
Yeah, they have CCS.
So I would imagine that New Zealand would be the same. And Greg, you can chime in on that as well. But I believe you would be the same as a CCS charger, just like Australia. But that's kind of interesting.
I'm wearing the right shirt for our conversation. High voltage.
Yes, exactly. And then to Kenny's suggestion, Mark, do you want to tell them about the Supercharger voting program?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have the capability now. If you have a Tesla account, you can log into the website and the Supercharger voting area. And
these new people, the new non-Tesla owners.
Yeah, you if you've got that login, you can log in and you can make a suggestion as to where Tesla is to install the next supercharger. And as Kenny points out, it is somewhat frustrating if you're on a route and you have to travel 10 or 12 miles out of your way off that route to get a supercharge. I know that in trips that I've taken, probably the furthest I've ever had to go off route is about 5 miles. It's about 4 or 5 miles. Maximum I've seen. But certainly there are some cases, as Kenny has mentioned here, that it could be further. But the closer, and of course, I feel that Tesla's pretty good at this, just for the fact of the number of chargers that they have out there that even I've experienced personally, and the three of us as a group, they're pretty darn close to getting them along those routes pretty accurately. Yep. But in some cases, there is just no options, and sometimes you have to go it a little further. But I've even seen Tesla replace a supercharger with a new station, put that other station that was a little further out of the way, close it down, and fire up a new one that's closer. So who knows?
I've seen them move stations before. Like literally, like after they close it down, they put that equipment at a nearby station. I'm like, wait, what? This is clearly from this other place.
Yeah,
it was very clear because that one was like one of the old metal ones. I'm like, interesting.
Exactly. Let's go to the next story, and let's see if I've got my sharing down pat here. Here we go. Share. Boom. Boom. Now this map, a little confusing. Because it's come from the Supercharge info website. But this obviously is not somewhere in North America.
It's Thailand.
That tone is not to scale.
That's right. So we talked about this last week. We talked about vehicles being introduced to Thailand. The first Tesla vehicles had arrived on a boat and now being distributed. And we talked about they don't have any superchargers. Casey looked it up last week. There were no superchargers. But this week, the first supercharger has appeared under construction in Bangkok, Thailand. So there we go. They're on their way. They're getting their cars. They have their sales center. And now the superchargers are starting to flow in. So good for them.
I wonder if Bjorn will go there and give us a video on it, as well as if it will be in the non-Tesla Supercharger program first in Asia.
Yeah. Yep, that would be cool to see. If you have the ability to do that, please send it in. Let us know.
I think they need a few more superchargers before they start opening them to non-Teslas.
Especially since they just had a whole shipload just unload.
Exactly. Right now, the Tesla owners are like, oh, no, that's just for me. No,
that's mine.
Get out of here.
That's mine.
My precious.
Speaking of cars going out, Model Y has now become the world's 4th best-selling car as of the end of 2022.
Where?
So we've had a tremendous amount of uptick for the Model Y. We know that in the year 2023, we think that it's going to top the chart. But last year, it ended up in 4th place.
Where?
Worldwide.
Yes.
Planet Earth.
That's right.
All of it.
Third rock from the sun, the entire thing. Yes, indeed. So
They've come a long way from a little blue car tucked away in the corner at this party they were having.
Exactly. Like it's hard to believe that they have. In fact, you would have a hard time getting many people to believe that at this point in 2022, at the end of 2022, they would have a vehicle that was the 4th best seller in the world. That is a lot of units. And as we've seen with the expansion plans of Tesla, they, of course, plan to go way beyond that. So it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing 1, 2, or 3 positions on that top 10 list being owned by Tesla. Maybe an all podium finish, gold, silver, and bronze. That would be very cool to see.
Yeah, so
that would be
it's
fun.
number 4 by quantity, but I would bet you it's number 1 by revenue.
Oh, easily. Yep.
Yeah, number 1 and 2 were Toyotas, the Corolla and the RAV4. And then
those aren't exactly chart toppers for how much profit they bring in the company.
Exactly. Yeah, number 3 is a Ford F-150. That one probably
that one's a profit bringer.
Yeah. So that one probably does have a pretty good margin. So it'd be interesting to see a breakdown of this sliced and diced a few more ways.
Yeah.
Yep. Next, Elon shows up in Washington.
Yes.
And this time he's not being sued. There's no problem with that.
well, he is being sued, but he's not being sued in Washington.
That's right. Not for Washington. He was there to meet some top brass officials, and they were discussing about the EV infrastructure, I imagine, about EVs in general, but most likely a little bit of talking about infrastructure, a little bit of talking about where things are going. It looks like, hopefully, that Washington is willing to take some advice from the company that is the actual leader of EVs in the country. So, it's something that we saw in the early days of the Biden administration, that they really didn't want to mention the word Tesla at any point, whether it was inviting them to summits or talking about how EVs have grown and how certain companies were leading the way, when really not so much. So good to see at least that Elon is being consulted in some things based on how well the company is doing. It would make sense to certainly call upon his expertise when it's not hurting you to do so. But I did notice that the other networks, didn't really talk about this much at all. It wasn't something that was promoted that much. And again, we know that the Biden administration is really tied to the hip of the UAW, and of course Tesla not having unionized shops. That's probably a no-go for them, just because it's bad optics for, I guess, what they've signed up for. Really, that's all there is to it.
Yeah. Speaking of leading from the rear, that's actually going to be my first story on Sunday, unless some breaking news happens first. But Elon tweeted that he met with the Leader McCarthy and Leader Jeffries. He made it sound like it was a productive meeting with the both of them. But when you read the story of what actually happened, it sounds like on his way into McCarthy's office, he actually met literally. Hello, all right, goodbye, Leader Jeffries, and then he had his meeting with McCarthy for several minutes, and then later on he actually met with a top advisor to the Biden administration, Mr. Podesta. So,
that
one was an actual meeting, and so hopefully something good becomes of that for everybody.
Yeah, I wonder how much they've actually talked to Elon about things, especially the infrastructure, the superchargers, the charging network that's going out. I gotta believe that anyone that like us, okay, we're not professionals, but we do have the ability to see what's going on with others, see what's going on with Tesla, and see the pluses and negatives that happen with all sorts of chargers. So the three of us are, and of course the people that are watching this show, are up to speed as to what works and what typically doesn't, and where the pitfalls lie. I hope the administration is using Elon as a resource in order to avoid some of those pitfalls for future development.
I mean, even if you disagree with his newfound politics and the way he presents himself in public, you can't deny the results, and you would be smart to take some of those learnings, especially since the whole company led by Musk has been pushing these out in the open. I understand that it wasn't as open as some of the other automakers would have wanted in the past, but now it literally is open source like Linux. So they it's like the pride before the fall if they still will not. Both of the government and the competitors will not learn from what is available to learn from here.
Well, between that open sourcing, making NACs instead of Tesla proprietary, and the Magic Dock, those two things together are definitely powerful and can be an incredible network. I mean, that's one of Tesla's biggest advantages right now is if you want to drive long distances, they have a great network for that. I've driven up and down the West Coast
and reliability. The costs are a little on the high side, but they're not the most expensive.
Right. Yes, and availability and reliability are hugely important. If you go to a place and they've only got one charger and it's blocked or broken, you're hosed.
Both.
And and so that's why we were just talking about how at a Tesla location there's usually 10 or 12, and at least 4. You don't find them with onesie twosies.
The only time you find a onesie twosie is if it's like a super old private site, and even then it usually has 4.
Yes. I was going to say that. Yeah, unless it's a private site in Hawaii at your mansion because you were on the board and got them to build one, Larry. If your name is Larry, then
Larry E. or the GM Proving Ground, or sorry, Goodyear Proving Ground. Sorry, not GM Proving Grounds. Goodyear Proving Grounds. They have a two-stall supercharger themselves.
Okay, yeah. Those
and some service centers have one-stall superchargers, but that's a real special case because it's not really a stall. It's a big long cable in the middle of the closest bay to the parking lot.
Yeah, and you probably don't have a lot of people coming off the freeway going there to charge up and then commute on or whatever. So that's not what those are for.
You gotta beg them for enough charge to get out of there. Sometimes I remember when I bought mine, I'm like, all right, now how do I get out of here? And I don't have enough charge to reach the nearest supercharger. They're like, could you go to this one? I'm like, yeah, but that's an hour in the wrong direction.
Oh man, yeah, you don't want to do that.
So they gave me a 15-minute bump.
Oh, good.
Another story of interest this week. We've touched on this previously, but maybe not on this angle. The insurance industry that Tesla is shaking up a little bit now. They're actually insuring a number of Tesla owners, and that number is growing with the number of states that they bring on, where they can insure the drivers that are actually purchasing their cars. They're able to do something that maybe we didn't think of initially, and that was Tesla Insurance is starting to see the full cost of what insurance is costing them. Because when a car gets into an accident, typically that insurance provider is going to do some sort of a quote from a body shop. They're going to come back with a certain dollar amount based on what car was damaged and what issues are involved in fixing it. They may get to a place where it makes more sense to just replace the car, write it off, as opposed to fix it. But Tesla is now starting to experience this themselves as the insurance provider. So they've gone back, and with Project Highland for the Model 3, and I would imagine future projects, they're looking at how can we make the car more repairable? Because we're now starting to see the full amount that has to be paid for insurance fixes, what the body shops are actually doing. And since Tesla has their own body shops, they're getting an unbiased opinion as to how much these repairs are actually costing. And they're starting to see that, you know what? If we made a design change when we make the car, it can make the insurance costs for some of the replacement parts and such lower, and everyone is happy with getting a lower bill, including us, who are the ones that are paying out that money. So this is kind of unforeseen that since they run the entire cycle from start to finish, they're able to figure out that, hey, we can make some changes here in the manufacturing, and that's going to help everybody downstream if this car gets in an accident and is insured by us or somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And we've been seeing this with other insurance companies where some of them they jack the prices up for Tesla owners, but others notice that their Tesla customers get into less crashes, so they lower their rates. It's kind of like they know it costs more to repair, they know it takes longer to repair them, but they're like, these people, they all have families, they drive safe, they've got autopilot, auto steer, emergency braking. Let's give them a discount. And it's not just because they see that; they see it in the numbers, like because they got the how do you say it,
actuarial. Yeah, insurance companies don't do anything because it feels like they're all numbers based for sure. Yeah,
they're bean counters.
These are the bean counters at the next level.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But that's good news that the Tesla's part of the whole cycle, so they can make some of these informed decision based on real life data that they're collecting, and will collect more as time goes along.
Yeah, some of the states and insurance companies are starting to get hip to the fact that Teslas throw off a lot of data. On my way out of Virginia, the county had asked for the login to my car to lower my taxes. I was like, out of here. I didn't, just fill in the rest of the phrase, and like, yeah, we understand. But we thought we'd ask.
Holy moly, they asked for the login for the car. They actually asked for it.
I'm like, that doesn't just tell you how many miles I got on the car. That tells you what and where I've been, how long. You can open and close my car. You can, start it. You can make it move forward and back. Nah. I mean, I do have some tracking apps, but I have a certain level of trust with them. And as a customer, I also have a certain level of, something I can kind of get back if they screw me over. But with the government, hell no.
Wow, that's interesting.
Now, if they had like a read-only API and it was a significant drop in my taxes, then I might look at it. But it's not read-only, and they're working with a third party, and who knows if that third party's got proper data security.
All sorts of red flags for that, definitely.
Yeah, I was involved in the BoringCo program for a while, where you have a dongle that plugs into the ODB2 port, and they tracked me that way.
That would have been a little more acceptable.
Yeah, that's not quite the same as giving them my password to my Tesla account. Where they can just go to the accessories and start ordering stuff.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Can you imagine? You didn't have FSD. You didn't want to subscribe to anything. They what's this $15,000 charge from Tesla?
Check that box.
And then you are responsible because you gave away your password, so it's on you.
It looked like you did it.
Trouble. The capital E for sure.
Or you happen to go to the Apple store or the video game store, and then you go to the mall, and they see the frunk open and close, and you're in there for a while, and you come back and you open the frunk, and there's nothing in there.
Yeah. And all your doors are open and the windows are down.
Well, I'm sure they would lock it back. But I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this in other industries where somebody knows where something valuable is going to be and they just let their friend know.
Yeah, so this does bring up an interesting point, though. With the Tesla rentals, they're going to have to be able to give that renter some access to the vehicle.
Yeah, but you have the you don't give them the owner login. You give them they have their own account, and you say, all right, that person's account was allowed to drive the car, open it, close it.
Okay. Right. So I wonder if you could do something like that with the state government, where you give them a limited access login to your vehicle, where they can collect some data.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So going forward, this might be something that states could use, where they could actually get the data. Right. Yes. That we would need a different level of just a read-only access.
lower than the stats guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Like literally, here's some miles. Nothing else,
Right.
just miles.
Right. No location data except for maybe what state you were in during said drive.
That's even better, yeah, because then they can stop that crap about, oh yeah, well you had 50,000 miles, yeah, but 12 of them in your fine state.
Right. Yes.
Next
like
story, we're going to take a look at some photos that Motor Trend was able to get a hold of.
Yes.
So
what is this, you might say?
had
This
some
is an
time
MCS2
with
port.
the Tesla Semi, and
Yes.
was able to snap some photos. In fact, over 88 photos they snapped. So we've got the link, of course, in the show notes if you want to go take a look at all of them. We're certainly not going to go into all of them. But
I did.
Here's a nice little shot of the charge port on the side of the vehicle, down by the first rear wheel, it looks like. And again, Casey, this is what is this? The MCS2. Okay.
Yeah.
So
which the Charin group is not able to use it because those two long blades you see at the top there. Somebody else claims to own the patent on those hairpin connectors. So they went to the MCS3, which is that triangular one that I like so much. And it's interesting to see that Tesla continues to have the MCS2 on here. And it's curious to see if they will keep that or if they will go to MCS3. But we're suspecting they'll probably go to NACS, the Tesla Supercharger connector.
Hopefully. We would like to see that NACS connector on this truck for a number of reasons. Just hopefully that, as we mentioned before, that it should be able to take all the different voltages, no matter where you are, even just to keep the battery, the 12-volt topped up. Anything would be a plus if you've got that NACS system in there.
And Motor Trend reported that Pepsi was charging at 750 kilowatts. Like they didn't even spec out a full Tesla Semi-charger for their site because that's all they needed. And then the NACS is good to a megawatt, which is all that Tesla was advertising with the Tesla Semi-charger. So that's one reason to say it's good. But another reason to say it's good here is if you're not using it at max, then it definitely doesn't need something special.
Yeah. And I noticed that the Cheetos Express here has some new labeling on the door. You can see Sustainable Future now
cool.
on the door. So when they had Frito-Lay had their Sustainable Day, they had their trucks out front definitely to show off. There's, of course, other end of the charge port, right?
Yeah. I noticed that that's the Tesla style latch on the side there. Less stuff to break. An active pin coming out of it. Another publication had done some analysis, and they had suggested that that Pepsi probably comes out with a profit on each truck they purchased because of the grant they received and the other part of the IRA, and so they're suggesting that if
there certainly was a huge rebate that was being offered by the state of California as well as federal.
Right, and if you combine those plus the original price that Tesla had advertised these for 4 years ago, then that's a really good savings. But if they had to pay a new price, then it might be a wash.
Yeah. Now, here's something that I find a little bit interesting, and maybe this is configurable. Obviously, this is not the end game that we're looking at. These trucks are being tested at Frito-Lay and PepsiCo, and they're going to get feedback from the actual use of it. But I thought that for the side view mirrors that they're showing here, it would have made more sense for me for them to be on the very outside because they're closer to where the physical mirrors actually would be. If it had,
there's that, but also where they are now, they're closer to you. So you just look up and down. But I do believe that during the demo they did for the 500-mile drive, there were several different configurations that each of the drivers used between just the two replicating the two big mirrors, and then another guy had like quads everywhere and other different places.
Well, and I got to believe that at some point, a lot of this stuff in the UI is going to be programmable, as we've started to see, of course, in our cars, where you're able to move things around if it makes more sense for you as a driver to have them in certain sections.
I also noticed they don't have a logo for the vehicle. It just says in text Semi, the same way that mine used to have the P100D, but now the app just says P100D in text. The logo's gone.
Yeah.
Mm. So, Mark, the location there, I understand why you're saying if it was on the outsides, that'd be closer to what happens today when you're actually looking at a mirror. But do you need to replicate that? If being closer to the driver's line of sight means that they can look at that and see it and still have peripheral vision to what's in front of them and actually be a better driver because of it, maybe this is a better location, but it would take some getting used to. So the nice thing about having this different is you don't have to do it the way it was. Those are acronyms, and you can do it whatever way is best, although you might need some transition time.
Yeah, another interesting setup they've got there is that the left screen is for all the truck stuff, and the right screen is most similar to what we have in our in all of our Teslas today, whether you have a 3Y or a legacy car or the new ones. And it's got the FSD computer, but it doesn't have autopilot yet. And then the wheel is very much like the yoke on the SNX or the new wheel option on the SNX, but
stockless.
It's not stockless. So it's got a Model 3 gear shifter and turn signal.
Yeah, so it's a hybrid. It kind of looks like the tactile button push, but yet it does have stocks. So
yeah, they still appear to be capacitive when I looked at it. And then the button for the autopilot is actually what looks like changing your apps. Like you can switch either where the mirrors are or which mirrors are showing, or like I'm not sure what you're quick changing with those app icons. And then the autopilot is just like on Model 3, pull down twice. So like it's got the autopilot icon, just like when Model 3 came out, it didn't actually have autopilot. So who knows how quickly that will get added.
Other thing of interest is that you'll notice that down here, the floor, that nice carpet's going to be destroyed in no time in a truck.
Unless you're like me and you drive without your shoes.
You've got to start thinking as it's a type of weather tech, type scenario where it's actually built for people that are wearing boots for driving and such.
But here's the other thing: with it being one of the few trucks you can stand up in before you even get to the driver's seat, you can put your own mat down in front with a boot buster and just kick off your shoes before you not take them off like I do, but just kick the mud off of it before you get to the front.
Or have driving shoes, but
or have driving shoes. Yes, just switch them like Mr. Rogers.
Exactly. I put on my sweater and my driving shoes. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you're going to be driving for hours, that might be more comfortable than some big old boots.
Especially since you got the whole extra jump seat. Like if you don't have a co-driver, you can use that to change your shoes, like Mr. Rogers did with the bench.
Yeah. Exactly.
Beautiful day in this neighborhood.
And there's a shot of of course, the Mega Charger.
I didn't know I was at the semi-charger. Why are you towing me away? It was heads and shoulders above your car, sir.
And notice behind it that this truck here in red or the Frito-Lay colors, it seems to have the side open,
and they are articulated. There's a photo that shows the piston or the actuator that handles that. And that was something that they told us during the demo, the initial demo, when they showed it off, when the Roadster popped out the back. They said that these would adjust to the trailer, and then they never said it again. But yet, it appears
this one shows that it's definitely adjustable. This one's out at a 90-degree angle, but that's
it wasn't like locking tabs. It was like,
and you'll notice the white one has it flat, and this one has it open. So kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that any little bit for aero helps.
Yep, absolutely.
I'd like to drive one.
That would be fun. I want to try one too. That'd be fun.
Next story about the Boring Company. And what we've got here is some information that there is an entity that's owned by Elon that is acquiring land to have a housing development built upon it by a registered builder in Texas. But the speculation that, of course, this is an Elon holding company that actually purchased the land and has to deal with the builder that's putting up this small neighborhood of houses, is that these houses are actually going to be for some employees of the Boring Company based on its location. So this is kind of interesting. We've known that that Austin, where the Gigafactory Texas is located, we know that it's booming now. There's a huge amount of people that are moving in to that town and neighboring suburbs, and that's putting a crunch on the housing market and, of course, prices. The Boring Company, where they're located, which is not in the same town, they're a few miles away in another town. They are, I'm not sure that they're not part of a larger city. They're outside of the large city. But there could be a problem with getting some affordable houses or what they feel they want. Again, this is speculation. We do not have the actual information on this, other than it's an Elon owned company that purchased the land and that has submitted the plans that this builder is going to build a small community. And I think the homes are about 50 or less, so it's not huge.
I thought it was 110 homes.
Oh, maybe you're right.
But still not.
Bill Gates buys farms, Elon buys housing tracts.
And if you're going to be doing a construction project, a boring tunnel project, that makes sense. You could have them stay there instead of paying for hotels or apartments or whatever else, and then you could use it for something else later.
In pop culture, it reminds me of Edward Scissorhands and Severance with the company town. I know there's other company towns, but this layout reminds me of those two.
Yeah, definitely 100 in this photo. So a few separate streets, and a cul-de-sac, and a couple of straight-through streets as well. So that's kind of interesting. That I wonder. Kind of like in Boca Chica, right, where they bought the town, they bought the small town, and then they started to put up some mobile trailers and started to use the homes that were on site for SpaceX employees. So could be along the same line.
Yeah, I wonder, are they going to use some prefab tiny homes, or are they going to build? I don't know. I'm curious how they're going to do that.
That would be a good beta test for Boxable. I mean, because if the company owns them, then there's a lot less complaining going on than if you have drop shipped this to somebody's land, they unfold it, and then it's leaking. Versus
although the builder in this particular case is an actual regular
national builder. Never mind then.
No,
that would be a good trial for it though.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's an interesting story about EV owners in the United States saving money more than most counterparts in other countries. And this talks a little bit about how EVs are actually saving people money through the winter months compared to gasoline cars and compared to even some EVs that are in other countries. And this
where does the other countries get their winter energy from?
Right.
Methane.
This is a story about how that the amount paid for electricity certainly combines into whether or not you're saving a lot of money or somewhat a moderate amount or a little bit of an amount. So it does a comparison of what the electricity rates are in America as a whole. And then they look over at some European countries and notice that, of course, electrical rates are a lot higher in Europe, as most energy is in Europe, is higher than the United States or even Canada for that fact. But they also, talk a little bit about how EVs save people money, even though internal combustion cars that could be used in the same circumstance with all that extra heat that they have in the winter, because of course, 70% of the vehicle's engine produces waste heat, and of course waste heat is awfully nice in the winter. if that's
Right.
that's not all you got. Like you'll take the waste heat in your cabin first, but since the electric vehicles are far more efficient, even with that waste heat going into your car for an internal combustion vehicle, the electric vehicle, of course, is still saving you money, even though there was a reduction in the amount of miles you can go in the winter. There is an actual lop off of about a third you can guesstimate. So that definitely does happen in a battery vehicle. But even with that loss, with so much waste heat that gasoline produces, you still are ahead of the game at the end of the day, comparing an EV to a ICE vehicle in the winter. So this is kind of interesting for those that don't know. There's a lot of people out there still believe that a battery vehicle does not even run in the winter, let alone being able to produce heat quickly and keep the occupant warm, and to be more fuel efficient than anything on the road. So it's just an article to kind of compare that, to let people know and do some comparisons for Europe as well. So if you have some interest in that, it may be worth your while to leaf through that article.
A friend of mine works in the medical field, and she had a long shift last night and came out to a car that was covered in frost. So she went back inside. She had a Fiat EV. She went back inside, turned on the app, took care of some things, came back, and it was resolved. Not exactly easy to do that with other vehicles, especially if you are in an enclosed space, and also if you are looking at an increased price of liquid fuels.
Right.
And I don't know about Patrick or Casey, but tonight and tomorrow night here in Southern Ontario, Canada, is going to be frosty.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. You can guess it.
It's dropping down to minus 20 tomorrow night with the wind chill on top of that. So
already 40 here.
It is going to be cold for the next few days here in Southern Ontario, but I can say that maybe Canada Colin and Hockey Day know that it can get pretty cold here. And the bonus is that not only does the Tesla warm up quicker than an ICE vehicle if it's outside, but you don't even have to be outside. You just go onto your app, you click warm up, and the car alerts you when it's at optimal temperature that you've set it to.
Nice.
So it's extremely nice to have something like that in the winter.
Yeah, so I really like this article because, like you were saying, Mark, winter is sort of the worst case, and so this shows that even in the worst case, you still save money, because you were saying there are people that are just like, oh yeah, well, you say it gets so many miles per watt hour or so many per kilowatt hour, and it's now, and they say, I'm just going to ignore that because that's not true in January where I live in Michigan or wherever. And now we've got this study that shows, yes, you're still absolutely saving money even in the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And of course, once you get through the worst part of the winter, then everything just gets nicer as time goes along.
Exactly.
You start getting more range, you start burning even less electricity, and it takes even less time to warm up. All of it is a big plus as soon as you cross over that winter apex that we're all hoping is going to happen pretty soon.
I find my sweet spot is, at least for these two Teslas that I've had, and the volts, was 68 degrees Fahrenheit to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just like where I saw like the best. It'll still do well outside of that, but it's like they make the numbers on the window sticker look like a game.
Exactly. Next,
speaking of getting through winter, I just one little sidebar here. The last couple days here in Oregon have been cold, but they've been sunny, and so solar is coming back. It's, once we got past.
That's great about solar, though, isn't it? Like
yes,
like you get your most optimal amount when it's sunny, regardless. And of course, if it's a cooler temperature outside, doesn't that help cool the inverter or something, and allows you to collect more?
Yeah, everything operates more efficiently when it's cold. Yes, so cold and sunny is optimal. And yeah, sometimes the sun angle is not as good as it is
Yeah.
in the summer, which is a big impact as well. But yeah, they
It
work.
is.
Yeah, it was really nice. It's like, oh wow, the batteries are full, and I'm exporting to the grid, and it's January. I love it.
Right. And I was watching a guy who tests solar panels. He was going over some bifacial stuff, and I was like, that's really cool. He even did an experiment where he covered up the front so it was opaque and flipped it over on its back, and it was something like 60% as efficient. So it was
Oh,
60%
nice.
plus what you were doing to the front. Yeah. And oh, and I also was exporting to the grid this month. Had an electric credit and then a gas deficit on the heating. So, depending on how much it costs to replace that system with a heat pump, I might look into doing that this year.
Awesome. Very cool. Moving
Excellent.
towards a future free from fossil fuels.
You know it. You know it. Next, Casey, do you know about this story about the
Yes.
incentives coming up for another vehicle?
So Tesla isn't done making stuff cheaper, but at the same time, we keep saying if you see what you like, it's in your budget. Get it when you see what you want, because the Model Y went up. Was it $500 from where they dropped it down? But the Model S and the Model X, they have a $3,000 discount or free supercharging for a couple of years. I think.
Yeah, it's not free supercharging forever. It's
No, they
limited.
learned that.
Yeah.
3 years of free supercharging.
Yeah, because of course
$1,000 a year. So if you're a road warrior, then this might be worth looking into.
Because they won't give out free supercharging forever anymore, that we've heard. Because of course Patrick has sucked up all those credits.
That's right. I still have it.
Mr. Toll Believe here.
Although
Oh,
I have it and I really enjoy it, I don't use it all that much. Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of road trips and I work from home, so my car is mostly just sits in my garage. But
yeah, mine
I still have it if I want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine kind of cratered after I got the work from home, because I didn't start out that way. What I'm doing now is I'm pulling up my stats because let's see. So I have done 20.2 megawatt hours from the supercharger over 13 days and 28 minutes, with an average session of 34 minutes.
Wow. Just the last 2 weeks? Would you say?
Oh no.
That was 34 days.
Lifetime.
Did you say?
Lifetime. That's
Okay.
199 locations for 537 sessions.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot of traveling.
Yes.
Definitely.
I wonder what that would be at like the supercharger rates. How much they charge? Like 16 cents a kilowatt hour?
Oh, I guess
Certain
it depends
ones,
on where you're at. Yeah.
Certain ones. But you'll work on that. And Patrick's going to bring up our next story about more batteries.
That's right. Yeah, we have someone in the chat who said greetings from Arizona. So they might like this one because this is about LG's battery plant that they're going to build in Arizona. And it has not been confirmed, but they mentioned in their recent conference call that they are in talks with Tesla to supply batteries from their Arizona factory. Now, this Arizona factory, they're supposed to break ground in Q2 of last year, so with mass production starting in 2024. So they're not cranking out batteries yet, but the nice thing about Arizona, if you want to send them to Austin or you want to send them to California, you can go either way from there.
Yeah, you're right on the route for both.
Yeah, exactly. And I would not be surprised if they get a deal with Tesla, because Tesla needs batteries they'll buy them. If you've got a double A in your pocket, you could probably sell it to them.
Maybe so. So
Yeah.
I came to $2,700 of supercharging so far. So I'm almost at my free $3,000.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So this was just we need batteries for our vehicles, batteries for all kinds of things, for grid stabilization, all the renewable energy, and it looks like LG is actually making plans to produce 4680 cylindrical cells. which of course we know the 4680 is what Tesla's going to use in the Cybertruck and all of their future products. And I would not be surprised at some point to see them moving everything off of 2170s and onto 4680s. So yeah, that was just a cool milestone that we're gonna. This is exactly what we need, is more battery factories, and wherever the batteries are going to be used, we need them on every continent. We need dozens more. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that it's LG at this time, because LG's selling batteries in all sorts of different formats to different automakers as well. GM has a deal with LG. In fact, they've built 3 factories, or in the process of building its 3rd factory currently. And I believe they were going to build a 4th plant with GM, and that was put on hold. And I'm wondering if that is why maybe LG is starting to shop around. They've got some surplus now that they know that their 4th plant may not be completely financed or requires some additional customers in order to get it built. And that may be the reason that they're speaking to to Tesla at this point, to supplement some of the sales that are going to GM. So it's the Wild West when it comes to batteries at this point. There's like Patrick said, Tesla and every other manufacturer are begging for batteries. All they can get. Right. Obviously, they want certain form factors, but some manufacturers are locked into pouches, for example. Can't leave that. Tesla has the bonus of being able to take multiple different can sizes because, of course, they've got. They decided not to switch to one. They felt it'd be more advantageous for themselves and to be able to collect more batteries by keeping the different form factors and just maybe updating the chemistry that's in those cans. So that's where they are now, and it looks like it's a good way to do it, because the manufacturer that they're approaching do have different options about what cans they can produce, and it gives them some flexibility.
They also were trendsetters in all of this. They were one of the first to go cylindrical, if not the first to go mass production in cylindrical. Then they were the first to do 2170s, and then they were the first to do 4680s. And shortly after they went 2170s, a lot of other folks that were doing cylindrical did that. And now we've got major folks like Ford and Volkswagen talking about going 4680s.
Yes, they are. Yep. Until we move to a newer. Hold up your Coke can there, Casey. That's the 2035 cylinder right there. That's the cell size. We have a lot of experience making those cans. So
right. Well, he also pointed out that during Battery Day that they were going after, they learned a lot from the battery folks, but they said, hey, let's look at the food and drink industry, and that was where we got a lot of their inspiration for the 4680 as far as how to run it at speed and scale.
Right. Yes. The manufacturing side of things. That's what's really cool about Teslas. They're willing to say, okay, how not how has this been done in the past, but
how do I make a car real quick in one piece?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you'll be able to walk into a Tesla location and just pull one off of the shelf.
Well, I did that because Elon said, well, what if I made mine the same way that Mattel makes the Matchbox and the Hot Wheels? And then nobody told him no, or at least nobody gave him a good reason to say no. And then
right. They got plenty of no's from the die-cast makers or the press makers, right?
Yeah.
Elon had said they got 3 no's and they got 1 maybe. So they took the maybe as a yes and pushed them. So that was kind of interesting. And that, of course, 1 was Hydra. So that's been a big plus.
I bet the others are kicking themselves now after they saw that contract for the mega press. Not even just press leave now.
I bet a lot of other automakers that use those press companies are pushing them now, saying, listen, someone's already done it. It makes sense. Let's start making single or, dual pieces as opposed to 30 pieces. It just,
Andy told us about this 35 years ago, and now we want to do it because somebody did it finally.
Yeah, exactly. And the other plus about the battery cans, of course, is that as we heard in the earnings call last week, Tesla is now starting to ramp up. So we've got a solid 4680 formula, and now they're starting to push at volume. And for the first time in a long time, we heard that this year, 2023, is not going to be tied
Battery
up
constrained.
by
Yeah.
battery concerns about
Right.
volume of batteries. The number of cars they want to produce, they believe they've got the batteries already for 2023. Now, that may change in 2024 or 2025, but at least with the formula set, they can work on pushing out more and more production of those batteries. And hopefully, we're not going to be constrained by batteries as time goes along into those future years.
Well, it's not just one formula either, because remember the mega packs are going to be going 4680s, and they're going to use iron. So at least 2 formulas.
Right.
Yeah, I got to believe there's going to be multiple formulas, just as there are now. It's something that
Probably one for the semi too.
But probably when they get to a point where it makes sense, they may bring other models on to the 4680 if it starts to make sense. If they're still pushing that we need X amount of 2170s and we're not going to use them in certain ways, then they're not going to leave the 2170 if they feel that they haven't got the supply down pat. And from what I see with this exponential growth that's going on, is that they need every battery they can get, and probably are going to stick with the 3 different formats for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Project Highland earlier, and I would not be surprised if that moves the Model 3 over to 4680s.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Or at least structural pack. But I think 4680 structural pack, like the Model Y.
Right, but one of the things,
and then whatever they were doing with the bumpers, they were covering them up for.
Right, but Tesla doesn't do just, let's just catch this up to something else. That doesn't need a project, right? It's going to be a leapfrog.
Right.
And so that's the exciting part, is I can't wait to see.
At a minimum, they're going to do the structural pack and then whatever they were hiding under those bumpers.
Right.
But
it's going to be something new.
What
and cool.
else? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It might not even be like flashy cool. It might just be, it's now this much cheaper. But that's still exciting for folks like us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If it means they can make them and they can lower the price and sell more of those cars and get more people into EVs, that's awesome. That's their mission.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, with that, let's start the wrap up. If you haven't clicked like button already, do it now, please. Give us a thumbs up and press that subscribe if you haven't already, and that helps us out. If you like the show, please subscribe. It helps us, and it doesn't cost you a dime. We would really appreciate that. And with that said, let's go to shoutouts. Casey, what do you got going on this week?
This week we've got the first story, unless something bigger happens first. We're going to be talking about a certain company that's leading from behind and their competitors. It's mostly about the competitor, but we're going to compare them to somebody that they're leading from behind with, and obviously that's sarcasm and facetiousness there. They had a good start and they just squirreled it all the way several times, starting with the EV1. And then they had another chance with the Volts, and then what happened, guys? Other than your cars catching fire, what happened?
I think you've left the mystery out of it at this point, so we know who
there's details. There's details, so it's still worth watching. That'll be Sunday at 1:10 Eastern over at youtube.com/KC and I hope to see you all there.
Very good, very good, Patrick. Any shoutouts from you this week?
Yes, I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, and I have a new post up that talks about batteries of all things, and what are the price trends. And the cool thing is that there was a story written almost 10 years ago that talked about how batteries are the limiting factor. They are the major cost component, and how that is going to decline over the next decade. And so I have excerpts from that in there and talk about how this has all evolved over the last decade. So I think you might enjoy it. If you like this show, you should go check it out, carswithcords.net. And of course, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. The Portland Auto Show is coming up, and we are going to be there.
Very good. Very good. And Casey brought up the article, January 29th. Yeah. Hot off the press. Absolutely. Very good, very good. Well, with that, come back next week and join us, and together we will find out what's happening in the Tesla life. Have a great week, everybody.
Stay positive, test negative.